Guys, Shawnthebro here, and today we're going to be going over some more of the side-scroller live stream. So it's basically like a Metroidvania style game, and we're going to be working on inventory today specifically. So hopefully you guys can hear me alright. I finally nailed, I think, everything perfectly for the audio on Twitch, and now since I stream from the same location, I don't have to change it every time. So I think the audio will be good on here. Unfortunately, would not load on my phone for the longest time, so I would love to be able to hear it and test it for myself. But anyway, I'm gonna assume you guys can hear me. Oh, here it is. Hold on. Okay, I think we're good. All right, perfect. That is wonderful. So thanks for coming in, everyone. I saw Everglades. I saw Grandma. Thank you for coming by. I saw Anima Mundi. Thank you guys so much. So, man, my internet was out for a few days, so I ended up having to get a new modem as well as playing catch-up. That's fair. You had to get a new modem. That is, that's a little rough. So what happened? Did it just die? He decided he would be passing away. Welcome forward, Shawnthebro. Hey, I like that. I like it, Shawnthebro. That was like, it was like cool. It was like you were making an announcement. I like that. Thanks for coming here, guys. Yeah, today's gonna be probably a pretty relaxed episode. I haven't done any planning for it. I was a little bit busy with work stuff this week, so everything kind of, all my stuff is delayed. I have to do my videos later and things like that. Excuse me. So I didn't make any preparations for this one, but I know, like, I have a plan for what we're gonna be working on today, but I have not actually planned it out. Sometimes I like to kind of plan it out a little bit. That way I can have a straight path forward, but I think we're good to get started. So let me know if there are any issues with anything with the audio, with the video. I do know my computer has been blowing off a lot of air recently, and the mic has been picking it up with the new setup, and that's okay. I plan on fixing that this weekend. I'm going to do a big audio test with some changes in positioning and stuff. How's your week been? My week has been good. Busy, like I said, with a new project at work, but otherwise it's been good. Life is just pretty good, you know, trying to have fun and stay relaxing. So in the last episode, we finished up the shops. We were able to actually buy things with coins and add them to our inventory. And then once they were in our inventory, well, not once they were in our inventory, we were also able to equip armor pieces on our character in the correct spot. See, he's got a chest plate and a helmet on, which is, again, thank you to Everglades for giving me these wonderful assets that you created. And then once they're in our inventory, we need to be able to do something with them, right? So I lost control of my mouse there. So I can, I have to remember. God, sorry, I have too many tutorials here, so I can't remember what is what. What button did I choose for this? What button is used? I don't know. Hold on. I was popping up like 80 inventory. There we go. It's E. Okay. E makes sense. I should have picked that. Usually I do the numpad, like 1, 2, 3, because for me, it's easy for me to reach it, and like I go like function 1, function 2, but whatever. Sorry about that. So let me do that again while picking up actually items. So yeah, what we did was we went through and that's their currency. We just got 5 currency. Now we can go up to the shopkeeper and we can buy an item. The quantity of the item will actually go down. This is the cost in the middle. So it will accurately, or it should. Didn't let me take that one away for some reason. That was working, so it's possible I'm just an idiot, or it's possible that I broke something and didn't realize it last episode. Let me try that again real quick. It's weird. Nah, that button just doesn't work. I have a feeling that, hold on, I think I know what happened. I don't think this is on us. Give me 1 second. Pretty sure I know what happened here. I don't think it's reading this correctly. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. We'll fix it after in a second anyway. I just want to see if this is what I think it is. So I should be able to... Okay, I took out the logs. Well, anyway, I broke that button somehow. That's fine. That is the life of a programmer, right? It rained, and I guess since it was old, it gave out. It was old, so the rain destroyed the modem. I mean, that's fine. It happens, right? I just thought it was, you know, it's one of those big oof moments. You're like, oh man, that went. I completed to fix all models. There was a bug with bone orientation, eyes, and fingers. I fixed this now. I just need to recreate the poses once again. I am sorry that you have to recreate those poses. That is not easy, but I do like all the work you've been doing with the, you know, I saw the blend spaces, or the blend shapes, excuse me, and the textures and materials look way better, so you were doing great, so keep it up. I don't know exactly what I broke, to be honest, for the shop. I can't buy that second item. Oh, wait, no, it's level capped, isn't it? Is it level capped? Is that what we did? I don't think we broke anything. Okay, guys, we did not break anything. I'm just an idiot. So, alright, we level capped it. I was gonna say, I don't think I would have left on a broken function like that. So let's try this again. Let's level up. Sorry, my brain has been all over the place. So... Oh, get... You really destroyed me like that. Get out of here. Now we're level 2. Wait, none of my keys are working all of a sudden. My attack key's not... My escape key's not working. Did my keyboard just disconnect? Hello? Okay. Okay. What the heck? Give me 1 second. Let me unplug this and plug this back in. We're off to a good start, guys, as you can tell. Alright, does everything work? Alright, I think we're all good to go. Give me one. I'm sorry. Let me try this again. Let's go level up. I thought the shot wasn't working. But I couldn't even escape the game. Hold on a second. Why does this guy beat the heck out of me every time? Is the shop? Okay, the shop is not working. Once I interact with that. Oh, because I'm an idiot, guys. Guys, why don't you tell me these things? Okay. Anyway. Have a good stream. Hey, thank you. Thanks for coming by. Alright, guys. Sorry about all the trouble I was having. So, I'll tell you exactly what was going on. First of all, I screwed up, and I forgot that we did the level requirement. So I couldn't enter the shop. Then I realized that my keyboard was having issues. I'm like, what's going on? It's not that my keyboard's having issues. My input focus was all over the place from where my mouse was. So let me show you what's going on. Let me get my coins back. We'll do this the right way this time. Let's go over to... We can kill this guy. Let's go over here. Okay, and we can use the shop. Now, I'll show we have this exit button. Alright, check this out. We're going to beat this guy up, and we're going to go back, and we should be able to use this. I did get the right text. Yeah, okay. So what's going on here is that we did the level up logic, and remember we disabled entering the shop. Well, we can't disable that if we want to be able to use it, because we need to actually be able to re-enter the shop when we come back here. So I will fix that in a second, and I apologize that I started off with that, and I'm sorry that I missed that in the last episode, for real. I shouldn't have left off on a bug. I just didn't realize it was there. So we will fix that, but let me go over what we're going to be going over today, the main topic, so I don't waste anyone's time, and you can kind of see if you're interested. So today we're going to be going over using the items in our inventory. When we buy things, and I should have been doing this, but I was too concerned about the bug. Let's go buy some items. It doesn't really matter if we're level 2 or not. We just need to be able to do it here. So, alright. If we buy an item, we take away from our currency, right? And it actually goes into our inventory. Which, take the button... Oh, whoops, that's the wrong thing. There we go. So, I have shop item 1 just because that's what I called it. This could be anything. But this doesn't do anything right now. So we did add an item that has the information we provided into our inventory. But we also need to be able to use our item. Now, I plan on this being the last inventory episode we have for the side-scroller tutorial series. Now, we will have like a widget overhaul to make everything look nicer, because right now it's terribly ugly and it only works off the mouse. Actually, it does work off of the keyboard as well. So scratch that. But still, it's very ugly. So we will update it and make it look nice. But I want to keep the functionality for this stuff simple. In fact, for the whole side scroller tutorial, I kind of want to keep it simple because, you know, the action RPG is going to have an inventory system that's even bigger. In fact, I'm a few episodes ahead on that because I got a lot of work done on it the other day. I think it was Sunday, might have been Saturday. And so I have a lot, you know, there's a lot that you could do with inventory. I want to try and keep it on the simpler side. There's really no reason to go into all that stuff if we don't need it. And we don't necessarily need that right now. So anyway, yeah guys, when I go over these things and then come back, you'll see I'm not able to go into my shop. We disabled that, remember? We did the functionality to disable that. I never re-enabled it when we left. So that's on me, and I apologize that bug is there. We will fix that up. But, more importantly, all I'm going to do for now is just move these items instead of fixing that. Not to be lazy, but because I don't want to waste a bunch of time like rewriting that logic. Because the logic is good. We just literally can't be overlapping at them at the same time. Otherwise, I have to go all the way out of the boundary of the shop and then come back in. So I'm just going to move them because they literally don't need to be that close to the shop anyway. But we will fix it. We'll fix it in this episode even. Just remind me if you notice that I haven't and we're getting close to the end of the episode. Alright, so the main thing we got to do for today is define how we're going to set up our logic for an item that's in our inventory. Now this is important because the items in our inventory, you see these awful issues uprising once again and again. We have to fix it up again and again. Hey, they always come up. It's part of game dev, so there's no problem really. I mean, you know, part of like so where I work, we literally have bug developers, which are like they don't develop bugs, they fix bugs in the development process. There's an entire job dedicated to that. Like engineers are supposed to handle that, but we have people that are meant to go in and fix all the bugs that everyone else has not gotten to. So you're never going to run out of that. You'll never, ever run out of issues where you have bugs popping up. But the good thing is, you're always getting better when you're debugging. So the main thing we have to do is determine the way we want to handle items in our inventory. And the reason this is important, so look at this. I think it's in widgets. Let me see. Might be, I think this is it, right? Is this our shop item widget? Sorry, not shop item widget. We want inventory item. Inventory item widget. Okay, so this is the item that pops up in our inventory when we open it up. It gets populated by the number of things we have in our inventory. And that's good, that's what we want. But we have no logic for when we click on it. And the reason we haven't done this in the widget, I mean, think about this. So, we don't know what type of item it is, okay? So, if we have one item, we have inventory item widget, and say it's a consumable, well then we don't want to equip it, we want to use it on the spot. Or if it's, you know, the alternative, if it isn't equipable, it's a piece of armor, it's a ring, it's something like that, then you want to actually put on your character when you select it. And so this whole, you know, having to be open to all these different things, we need to determine how we're going to handle that. Now, there are quite a few ways, as with pretty much anything. You guys probably hear me say that all the time. There's quite a few ways to handle it. It's true, though. There's so many different ways we could do it, and there's so many good ways. There's at least 3 or 4 good ways that I can think of that we could actually handle this. So, there are 2 ways in particular, probably my 2 favorite ways and the ways that I have handled it in the past. One is we can use an interface, and we can basically have, you know, a function that is in every base pickup, or every item that can be in our inventory. And then we just call, we have a reference to the type of object it is, and then we have the function that gets called when we click on that button for that object. So you say, oh, it's a consumable object, then do this effect. If it's a armor object, do this effect. You could separate it even more. Say if it's leggings, put them on there. If it's chest, attach it to the right spot. If it's helmet, attach it to the right spot. So there's a lot of things you could do with an interface to separate the logic and kind of make sure that every object has the functionality that it wants, but you can call it from one function. So you can have one function when you click on the button that gets called, but then the objects themselves handle it. The only issue with that is you do need to either have an object reference to know what type of object it is that you're trying to use it on, or you will just need to separate the logic by the type of item it is, or you could even do the specific item, but you will need to know either by enum or integer or anything. Nothing wrong with recreating anima poses. Once again, it's really rather to find a problem and fix it right now than recreate just animation pose, find that issue when over 60 animas are done. Poor you. Yeah, that's fair. That is, I can understand that would be a lot of work. So yeah, that's one way. Interface is good. The other method that I can think of is we could actually spawn an object, which we're technically spawning an object now, but we're not really doing anything with that. We were just spawning it to add it to our inventory. And then, you know, have the object do its whatever it is. If it's healing us, if it's giving us experience, if it's equipping to our body, we can do it all right there. Now, the best way, in my opinion, to handle it is to convert these. So I actually mentioned this last time. I know I did, because I intentionally mentioned this. So let me get out of the base shop BP. We actually don't need that anymore, at least not for right now. I am going to need my inventory widget. Okay. So we're good here. And let me see what happens when... Actually, no, we're okay. Never mind. So I did talk about this. I'll show you what I was going to say. But I just realized we're okay. We can actually leave it as is, and it'll be a good solution. So, here we go. In the base shop BP, when we buy an item, when we purchase an item, we actually were spawning it and setting the data of the item. Now, this isn't necessarily bad. It's okay for now. It's okay the way we're doing it, but it could be bad depending on what it is that we're doing. So we're spawning a base inventory item. Great. That's awesome that we're doing that. But, you know, we just kind of want to have a reference. Excuse me. We just kind of want to have a reference to the item. We want to know that we bought it, and we want to know that the character has it, as well as the data that it has. But we don't necessarily need to spawn it into the world yet. What we could do is use a U object, which, you know, isn't an actor, so it doesn't have to have the mesh and all that, and it could just hold all the data itself. We could also store the data of the contents into a data table for the player's inventory and different things like that. I mentioned that last time, and we decided against it because I'm not going to make this game really item dependent. You know, you're working on an MMORPG, well, guess what? You could have literally thousands of items in your inventory at a time. At that point, you might want a database, or, well, a database, but a data table in Unreal, and, you know, you might need a method of organizing that a bit. Since we're going to have, like, legitimately, I'm thinking 1 or 2 armor sets max, probably just the one that Everglades gave, and a few consumables, health, again, maybe experience boost, something like that. I'm not going to do that. I don't feel the need to do that. But we can still spawn new objects instead of actual actors to save space, as I said in this comment that we made in the last stream. You know, we have options. Now, that's good. Okay, this covers it for the shop. So, for the shop, I don't really care, right? The shop is it's fine without it. You know, if anything, you can just see it when you spawn it, but I actually ended up saying I kind of like that. Like, I think it looks kind of cool. So I'm going to leave this alone for now. We can change this later if we want to, but we actually don't need to. The important part is in the inventory. So let's do the interface method, and let's make a function that basically everywhere can call it from, as long as it's including that interface, and the functions themselves will determine what happens to our character when we press the button. I think it's the neatest method. I think it's the cleanest method, because you're only ever calling one function, and it's determining the logic from there. The only thing I have to do, the only thing we have to do to determine if it's going to work correctly or not, is separate all of our objects. So, you know, if we have a ton of objects, then you're not going to want to just do like an enum or an object class for each type. So let me show you what we can do. We got a few tricks up our sleeve here. I'm going to go into my logic folder again, and I'm going to add a blueprint interface. It has been a long time since I've done this, So I apologize if a blueprint function library would be better and things like that, because I had someone mentioned it to me. Someone mentioned it to me, and I feel kind of bad because I can't remember what they had said. Actually, give me 1 second. We already have a general object interface. Oh, this is for removing existing widgets. See, I like to keep these separate. I do like to have different interfaces, because if you include multiple interfaces on a class and you don't need the functionality on that class, it's kind of pointless. What I will say, actually, so this one we made to remove the existing widgets. We did this so that we could remove it from the HUD. So if we're hovering over multiple objects at the same time, or like if we're overlapping with them, it will get rid of the HUD message and only display one at a time. So that's how we set that up. But we could potentially throw the function here. Let me see who includes this. I think it's really just a character that includes this. The widgets themselves probably include it is the only issue. If the widgets include it, we'll probably make a new interface. Oh yeah, it is the widgets, it's not the character. It'll be like the pop-up item widget, probably. Really? Where did I put that? General object interface. I think you can just search for it, but I actually don't really remember how. I mean, I can just search for the function. I was just trying to see. Oh. Oh no, hold on. I was gonna say, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, so I put it in the objects. So I put it in the shop and the inventory. So whenever we spawn them, I put it in. So for that, like, I'm trying to think. For that, we actually probably could use the general object interface. You know, I mean, if it's going to be the actors that we spawn that have the logic, then they could still have the interface. You know, there's nothing actually deterring them from having one or the other. Let me think on it for a second, if we want a separate interface or not. This is going to be on the items. So it's going to be on the shop and the item itself, so that when we spawn them, we can set the logic and change the HUD. So problem is we don't really need it for the shop. So I think the right move here, even though it's very similar, I think the right move here is to make a new interface. So that's what we're going to do. Let's make a new interface. Let's call it let's call it, we want it to be pretty generic so we can add more than one function to it if needed. But let's probably just call it I mean, we can call it inventory interface, because we can use it for anything inventory related. That way, all of the places where we have different items in our inventory can use this interface. So we won't. I was gonna call it like use item or item interface, but that could be totally separate. I think it's we only care about things that are changing the inventory for right now. All right, so here's our function. Let's just rename this and make a new one. We're gonna call this use item. Okay, this is if we're using an item in our inventory. If we basically just click on it, that's all there is to it. We probably will want some of these, but for now, let's just attach this. So if we press on the item button, remember the item button is the actual button in our inventory. So if we press it, then we're going to call this function. To do that, we're going to need the interface, which I just called, whoops, the inventory interface. All right. Now, when we press this, we're going to want to call this function. And the function was use item. And this is an interface call. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think we may need a reference to it if it's in a widget. There are some weird cases, so we'll figure that out if we do need it. But for now, this is basically the logic. It's as simple as this.
think I will come to make a reference to super move key mechanic after the stream ends, considering it will be extremely needed to cover. Come to make a... Oh, okay. The super move key mechanic? Okay. I mean, that's fine. I don't exactly know what the super move key mechanic would be, but we can absolutely handle it. Yeah, just let me know what you're thinking, and we will cover it. So here we go. We press an item, and we call we press a button in the widget, and we call use item. It's pretty simple, and honestly, that's actually all there is to it. I mean, you do this, and great, you know, we have to define the logic for everything, but as far as, like, doing something when we press the button, I mean, that's it. I'm just trying to think, so I'll get rid of that. Now, the thing here is that, I think it's this one. We call this function great, but this is an interface and it doesn't allow us to actually perform any logic in it. So the logic has to be defined when it gets called. So the problem with that is that we need to know the data that is in the button, okay? We need to know the data that's in the button because we need to know what effect we have to do. So we can do, like, we could have an object reference. We could just have the plain data. If it's like, you know, maybe we give it an enum and then we give it an amount. So, oh, it's a consumable. It's a health consumable, and the amount is 20. So we know to heal for 20. Like, we can do that. Or it could be a little bit more generic than that, and it could just say, you know, it's consumable, but we have the object reference. So we go to the object reference and we call the function for use item. So you can see how we could use this a few different ways. I'm going to show you two ways. One of them almost definitely won't work. It, like, literally won't work. It won't let you do it. And I will explain why if it does do that. But it is possible to get to work. Okay? So I want to try it because it would be really sweet if it did. But we have to be very careful with how we use our items. Otherwise, it just literally won't let us. It won't be able to do what we need it to do. Sean the bra feels tired again. I am tired. I'm always tired. Like, even when I get enough sleep, I'm just always tired, my friend. No worries, though. It is what it is. So, we're going to get into the fun stuff here. So now I'm getting excited. I know I talked a lot, but it was all set up. So, we have use item and we have the event use item here. Now, let's try with the enum and the amount, because I think this is very, very useful. So we'll need to make an enum because we actually don't have one. So I could make a type here, but it won't matter. So let's close this. Let's go into the code. Now, we have a few base items, right? In fact, let me just go back to home here for a second. We have a few base items. We have base pickup. Actually, this is the only one we have in code. But we have base pickup here, and then in the blueprint, we have base inventory item. So, it doesn't matter where we put this. I believe base pickup is the parent of inventory item. Yeah, because it's got this enum here. So, we don't have to make a separate enum if we don't want to. But I'm going to because we have the base inventory item in the blueprint. So if we don't make a separate one, then it's just going to be annoying. We're going to have to access this, access the inventory item through the enum, and then we're going to access another enum to get the item. So after looking at this, let's actually put it in the blueprint. I was going to put it in code, but I forgot we already got that it was an inventory item through the enum. It doesn't really make sense to put two in there. It'd be annoying, again, looking at this. So if we just put it in only things that are inventory items, we cut down on all these other objects from having this enum, which is good. It'll save us space and memory. Well, same thing. It'll save us memory and a little bit of performance. So instead, let's go to that object. I forget what it is. Is it base inventory? Yeah, base inventory item. Here we go. Alright, so here's base inventory item. And this is really all we're going to need to use.
Anything we're talking about today is using an item from our inventory. So if it doesn't get added to the inventory, if it's not a pickup that goes to our inventory, we won't do any of this logic, okay? So we only care if it's getting added to the inventory. Since this is the last week of inventory, do you already have plans for next week's tutorial? No, not really. So I do have plenty of episodes I can do, but this is just so freeform. I just come here and basically code and hang out with you guys. I love talking to you guys. I hope that I am helpful, genuinely. So other than that, no, I don't really have any plans. There's a lot of things I can do. I'll definitely think of something. But if you got an idea and it sounds like you do, please let me know. I'll be happy to cover it. I know you want to go over opening the shop from the main menu. We are going to do that. I did not forget. I haven't done any menu yet, and I have been honestly kind of lazy. Not on purpose, just I've been tired. So I haven't made any plans to do that yet. But it is coming. I did not forget. I think a tag in and out system would be cool. That was my favorite part of Indivisible game. Good game. And you could double down and use a similar code for the fighting game. Yeah, we could do that. I see no problem with that. We are going to do it in the fighting game, for sure. But yeah, I could see it in here. I don't see any problem with that. And then that could kind of be like, we could give powers to each character, and they could have different things that, only this character can do this. If we want to, we don't have to. But you see what I'm saying. So if you want, I'm totally down to do that next week. Absolutely. Okay, so we're in our base inventory item. Now, what I actually want to do in here is I want to put an enum in here of the type of item it is. We want the type of item it is, and we want the amount if it's a consumable. If it's not a consumable, if it's an equipable or whatever, then you probably only have one. Or I guess you could still have the amount, but it doesn't matter for using the item. Like, you're not going to put on multiple pieces of armor on your chest. I mean, maybe you will. I've never really thought of a game to do that or seen a game that does that. So basically, we can just ignore it if it's not a consumable type. So let's make an enum in the blueprint. Remember, we're doing this because the base pickup already has the enum, and that's how we determine it's an inventory item. We only want the inventory items to have the other enum. It's just cost efficient that way. So let's go into our logic, and we're going to make a new enum. Enumeration. And we will call this inventory type. How about that? Inventory type. And now you can make this as specific or as general as you want. I'm going to go pretty general, but if you have a ton of different items, there's a good chance that you might want to be a little bit more specific. So we could have a default, but we don't really need to. We know that it's going to be one or the other, or one or of certain types. Like, we define what goes in our inventory, so we're not going to really have any surprises. So we can do, like, I definitely want consumable, okay? But I may do, like, health consumable and, like, experience consumable. You could, if you want to just do consumable and then have a boolean like health, it is health or whatever. If it's false, it's experience. I'm just going to make them two different values. Enums are very, very good memory-wise. They can be as small as just 1 byte, I believe, like for each option. I can't remember in Unreal exactly, so I could be a little bit wrong with that, but they are still good performance-wise, so feel free to just add a lot of these bad boys in here. So we have health consumable, experience consumable, and we'll separate the armor. Like, what I'll do is helmet. Actually, really, like, if I'm being honest, I don't like using underscores, but if I'm being honest, this should really be something like this. Like, usually when you're working in a group, you'll have a naming convention, and it would probably be something like this. Because if this gets huge, you want to be able to look for the type first and then the specific one. So consumable health, consumable experience, armor, helmet, and we'll do armor chest. We'll just deal with these items for now. You could drag this on indefinitely, but 4 different examples, 2 of which will be different consumables, and 2 of which will be 2 different equipables. That should be more than enough to get the point across. We don't really need a description. This is if you want to, separate it a little bit and refer to what these things are. But I'm not worried about that. So now in our inventory item, we can add an enum of this. And we can call this type. What? I already have something called type. It is. The heck was already called type? Maybe you can't use type because it's a keyword? I don't know. It doesn't matter. We'll just call it something else. Item type. All right. Here we go. And then we can set the default. Now, you know, this is why you probably should have a default because maybe this isn't health, but it's fine. We'll set it whenever we pick it up or whenever we go to use it for sure. Well, actually, we'll have to set it when we add it to our inventory. So it's not really a big deal if it's set to health by default. Like, we'll set it. We'll make sure that it's set. I like to name in consumable XP const at the start to make sure all consumables be okay, got you. Be ordered alphabetically. I mean, we could do that. We could do that if you want. I see why that would bother you. Here, well, we can do this as well. Actually, if we're gonna do that, we should really do it this way. I don't normally make things alphabetical, but if we're gonna go the alphabetical route, we should just make everything alphabetical, right? I think that's a good idea. You did const tilde though. In the enum? I'm not sure what the const tilde is doing there, but it sounds like you're saying it sorts it. I actually don't know anything about that. If that does sort it, let me know. I mean, I'll try it. But, I mean, it wouldn't do anything here because it's being added to an array. But if what you're saying is happening to the enum, then let me know because that's actually really cool. I've never seen that before. Okay, but either way, we have the inventory type now. And the only other thing we need is probably make this a structure, actually. That would just be better than making these two separate things. But it's fine. So, okay, we have the item type, and we need to know how much it does. So that's where the object reference comes in, or we pass it the value, and we just say, if it's equipable, don't worry about this. If it's consumable, then, you know, take the value. And we could do either or. In my opinion, one's not really better than the other. I actually prefer the value method because you don't have to deal with an object. But in all reality, the object is just being, if it's a consumable, it's going to be created to grab the value and then removed. You're going to clean it up almost instantly. It doesn't really make a difference performance-wise. So we could do either, and I can show both. So what we need to do then is have a consumable amount. If it's a consumable. Otherwise, if it's another item, and consumable can be anything, by the way. If you have ammo, that's also consumable to me. Like, it might not be classified under that, but it is. It's something that you can use that you have a limited amount of, right? So, it could be ammo, whatever. I just don't happen to have more items in this game. So I'm trying to think if I want the, trying to think if I want the amount. Because we could just make it a child of the base inventory item, and then we could have that have the amount on it, and we could use the amount. You wouldn't even have to make an object. You could just cast the class. We could do that. We could have the item here too on the inventory item, not on the base class. Set the variable and grab it and remove it. We could also just store the item on the button that the widget itself, when the menu pops up, could have the data read second. I think that hopefully made sense. But if it didn't, take a look at this. So I have to figure out where it's at. I think it's just on our header file. Character state, ability type. Where's it at? Okay, so yeah, we have an array of base pickup pointers here. And they are inventory items. So if we were to add these details to the base pickup, it would bloat the class a little bit. It is going to add a little bit to the class. However, then we only ever access this when it's an inventory item. So we wouldn't ever be going through this list of data until we were already at the base inventory actor. And because of that, it shouldn't really, I don't think it'll hurt too much at all. So I think this is the right play. What we need to do, we had the pickup type and then we have the inventory type. We need to have the amount that we have, and we need to have the like the benefit, like the amount gained or whatever. Okay, so let's do it then. So, for the base pickup, let's add actually, it really does not need to be a float for any reason. Int amount. Okay, so the amount is the amount of this pickup that we were getting. Think of it. If you go over, again, say Dark Souls, but it can be anything. You go over to something. There's 30 in a pile. You press A one time. Well, then you need to gain 30. We need to know how many we have, especially if it's a consumable. But, we talked about this earlier, you could have like 2 chest pieces or 2 helmets of the same type. You know, when you're equipping it, it doesn't matter. So in the inventory widget, it doesn't matter. But maybe we want to pick up more than one. It is possible. So I'm going to add an amount to the base pickup. And I'm going to actually stop this so that Unreal closes and we can save and build. I'm going to set the amount to be 1, not 0. The default is 1, but if we ever need more than 1, we know we can now add it to the base pickup. Okay? And the other thing we're going to need is the effect. I want to determine that object by object. So we don't necessarily want to put, like, if we're looking at health items, one heals for 20, one heals for 50, one heals for 100. We do want to make sure that we heal for the right amount when we use the item. So in a way, we either need a U object with that data, or we need to be able to figure that out when we go to use the object. So if it was stored somewhere else. This is where a data table would come really in handy. Again, since I'm not going to have a lot of items in my game, it's not really going to hurt my performance not to have it, so we don't need it. But if you have, again, thousands of items, and they all have their own effect, and you have different stats, strength, agility, charisma, and, oh, this increases it by 6. Okay, you're not going to want to do all of that and store all that in your array. You're going to be walking around with, like, 2 terabytes of memory, alright? Not nearly that much, but you get my point. It's going to be a lot. So since we don't need the data table for this, though, because we're doing a shorter, more controlled amount of items. Hey, nice to see you, Snatchin'. Always great to see you, buddy. Sorry, I've been going off in my example here. I didn't see you. Since we're doing it that way, I think we can just put it right in the base inventory item with the object class. Not a reference, the object class, so that we know what data it has, okay? So we're going to keep it amount, just like this. We're going to play. We're going to go into our structure, add an object class that it's referencing, and then we're going to use the class to determine the amount, if it's a consumable, and then we will apply that to the character. We will make the function in the use item logic, will then go through, use each item. If it's the consumable, it will then take the amount. If it finds the enum consumable underscore, it will find the amount. I think that's the best way to do it. I don't see any issues with it. I've been over it quite a few times now, so let's try it. Sorry, I'm blanking a little bit today, so I have to Base pickup BP. I'm pretty sure. Hold on. I just want to make sure before I do this. This is just base pickup, but base inventory item should probably be base pickup. Okay, it is. Cool. All right. Perfect. All right. We are good. So base inventory item. All right. We have our item type. And do I want to put it in here, or do I want to make a separate one for consumable specifically? Because I really should, probably. I should. I really should. I don't really like that would have... Well, I guess you could sell consumables. Okay. Alright, alright. Let's make a child of this. Create child blueprint class, and let's make it consumable. We'll call it base consumable BP. And we will make this a consumable of experience by default, but it doesn't matter. And the value here, this is how much it's actually worth in the store. It's not actually related to the value of how many we're using, so don't get confused by value. Maybe I'll make that like cost value. Like currency. How about item worth? How about item worth? I think that's less confusing, right? So this is the worth. So it doesn't really matter what you put here. I'm gonna just give it a value so it's not empty, but whatever. Alright, we've said it's consumable by default, but that will also change. I am gonna name these so that we know which one's which. So consumable experience. And here's the amount. This is the new variable we added. We have to know how many of the consumable we are getting, okay? This is not the amount that the consumable is giving to us. This is how many of this item we have. So think of it again as a chest plate. The amount is like we have 3 of this armor, okay? We have 3 of this consumable experience item. I'll give us 1, that's fine. Here's the important part about this. Here's why I made this child class. We can make a variable in here that is specific to consumable. So only if it's a consumable will we even have to worry about how much we're getting out of it. You know, and you can do this with anything. You can do it with buffs. You get 60% bonus when you use this item on this trait. Well, then guess what? It's still a consumable. You use it, you apply the effect, you get rid of the object. All right? So let's go and make a variable. This is in base consumable BP. And we're going to say, now this, I don't know what to call this. So this could be, I want to call it amount again. Hold on. We need to clean some things up because it's going to get confusing. So I realize I just called this amount, but like this actually needs to change because I'm not going to know what to call it. So let's save this and close this again. We're not going to call this amount. We're going to call this, amount in inventory. We could call it held amount. We could call it amount of item. I'm gonna say amount of item because I think amount is a good word, but it's just too confusing if we're gonna have like different things related to amount, especially with the same name. You can do that, by the way. You can have variables with the same name, but it'll be a little bit confusing. Oh, I need to set the constructor. Here we go. Now we have amount of item. All right, so we'll set the amount of item to 1, and then I'll have just like amount worth. Like, I hate calling it an amount again, though. Yeah, quantity is good. Quantity is good. We could do that. But the problem, I need your help. So quantity is good for that, but actually that part's not too bad. I'm having an issue with what to call, like, we want a variable in here, right? That's a It can be an integer or float. I'll probably make it a float because if we're doing like 0 to 1 for our health, like for a progress bar, then, you know, you might want to make it a decimal. But like, this is a consumable. Think of it this way. There's a consumable and it heals 50 health. What do I call that 50 value? Like, worth value? Nothing's coming to me. There's probably like a really easy word for it. But like usage value, is almost, it's kind of a loaded name, but it's almost what I'm gonna pick. After a while, it's true, the hardest part is the naming convention. I'm not kidding. I mean, I am kidding to an extent. There's some things harder than it, but no, it actually eats up a lot of my time, at work included, because okay, here's the thing. I know what this is because I'm the one making it, but not only to talk with you guys, but when you're in a group setting, like when I'm at work, I have to be really careful. If I call it the wrong thing and I say, yeah, just go use this variable, and there's seriously hundreds of variables on that project, you know, a lot more even, but I'm saying 100 variables that they can maybe see at that spot. Well, you know, oh, it sounds like this. Is this it? And then it's been 2 months since I've been on that project. You know, maybe that's the variable. And you go down this like path of, I think that's right, but the code doesn't really describe it for you. Cure value. See, that's good, but like I want it to be more for more than just healing. Like, say we have like a mana one as well, or like an experience consumable that gives us experience when we use it. Like, value amount. So like, it's so bad. Okay, all right. Let's just rename this. Let's just go with it. So we're gonna call this amount. Amount. That's what I came up with, huh? Amount. I think we're gonna call it value. I think we are. I hate calling it value, but I can't think of something that works for everything other than just like value or amount. We do know we did change the code to be amount of item, so we know that this is how many of the item we have. We could say quantity item. I think that's better. I'll probably change it to quantity. Thank you for that suggestion, Anima Mundi. I will do that. But this, I think value is fine. Like, I think if you guys come up with something else, we'll use it. But I think it's good. We don't need to waste that much time on that. I don't really need anything in here that I'm aware of. I might have to delete it when we're done. But other than that, these are just to set values. So, like, this is base consumable BP, and I set default values. Okay. In fact, for item worth, then I will say 1. That's the default, not 10. These are default values, and I've just set these to be whatever. But the important part is restoration. Yeah, restoration, it does kind of work, but it's like, it's also like, if I want to, I don't know. I'm not trying to make it more complicated than it is. I'm not trying to. But like, a consumable to me is like, I think that this is the definition. It's basically anything you use, you get something out of it, and then you lose it, right? So like, think of, I don't know how familiar you guys are with certain types of games. So I'm thinking of Bloodborne. There's a thing called fire paper. You use it and you infuse your weapon with fire. Well, if I do that, I'm not really restoring anything. I'm like using the consumable and I'm doing this. And that's fine. We don't need a value for that. It's just like an on or off thing. But then think about it this way. So I can apply also an item that makes me do 60% extra melee damage on that weapon for some time. So at that point, you know, I have like 60% is kind of a bad example because we're talking about specific numbers here. But say it helps me do 6 more damage per attack. I mean, like, because we do have to be thinking ahead. I know I'm making this very simple, very easy right now. I only have 4 things, but you can make this as complex as you want, and I want it to be able to work for all of those too. Are you still using float ratio instead of solid integer of health points? Right now, we are using an integer of health points. But I just mean in general. Like, we could make it a float as the value. Either way. Because a float can be an integer cannot be a float. So, you know, for anyone watching, if you're using a float, or if you want to do like 50%, then you're gonna want to use a float. So we are using an integer, yes, but yeah, no, I got you. It was a good name. I was just having a heck of a time. Like, literally, I'm on the edge of like dying over here thinking about this. We're just gonna call it value, okay? That way I don't die, and that way you can get back on with it. I'm sorry I wasted your time, but thank you for helping me out, guys. So value is what we're going with for how much this consumable gives. It doesn't matter if it's health, mana, experience. It could even be percent boost. You could use the value. Percent boost. You could do 0.5, 50% boost. You can use it for all that stuff, okay? So what we're going to do now is we have this value on our consumable. Since these are inventory items, the inventory items themselves will need to have a class to themselves. If they don't have, if we're not using a data table, we can't just grab an object. We either have to have a U object or an actor. Now, admittedly, a U object would be better here, but it's okay for us to use actors, because if we want to pick them up in the world, we need an actor. And again, we're not necessarily using like 80 items. Okay, we're going to have about 6 or 7 items I'm going to use throughout this tutorial. If you're going to have a ton, then maybe use a U object. It's not really any different than an actor, except you don't really spawn it in the game with a mesh and all. It's kind of just idea in memory. We will be going over U objects anyway for data tables, which we will inevitably need to use, so don't worry about that too much. And if you want to see that, we will be covering it, so I won't worry about that too much either. In fact, we already did cover data table, but we'll be covering U objects in the data table, so. Anyway, now we have our base consumable BP, and it's basically just a base item BP. It literally like the exact same thing, except it has a value. It's the only difference. Don't be afraid to make an extra class for 1 or 2 variables. You know, a lot of people will tell you, oh, that's bad practice, but a lot of times it's not. I mean, okay, sure, it's bad practice if you have a different class if you have 1,000 different classes and they all have only 1 change in them. But that's not what we're doing here. We're determining if this is the type of object we want. We're using the enum, and then if it is, we say, okay, we need to separate the logic. Effect ratio, we could do that. Effect value, it's not really a ratio, but we could do like effect value. I think I could be behind that. Let's do it. Effect value. I think that's good. I think that's a good one. All right. So now let's think about this logically. We have our effect value here. It does not matter. That's what I'm trying to stress. It doesn't matter what type of item it is. We just care that this is a consumable. We already have the armor pickups. Those are equipables. We're separating those. This is a consumable. What's the consumable need? It needs the effect value. That's it. It's the only difference it needs. It needs to know that and what type it is, but we're going to create the type right here. So we have base consumable BP. We can create a new child class, and we can call it experience consumable. Experience consumable. Now these are all pyramids because that's what I happen to have for the static mesh, so I apologize for that. But it doesn't matter. Now look at this. The only thing we need to do, we do need to set our class defaults, which they're going to be pretty close because they come from base consumable BP. We'll want to change the name. Alright, experience consumable. And you can do like 1, 2, whatever. See how I'm doing this and I have a whole actor for this though? If I have like 4 experience consumables, 4 different health consumables, 20 sets of armor, just use a data table. You don't need to make the class for all those things. You make 1 class, base consumable BP, fill out the data. It's fine. Now, the amount of items, so the amount of the experience consumable that we have. or that this is worth. This is just worth 1. We don't need to complicate things any further. This is really just if we want to add, like if we want to have multiples of something. And we have the item worth here. You know, these things are the things that will change. The rest of it will stay the same. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to set the effect value, which I need to make this public. That way I can see it in the child class here. Right? I'm pretty sure. Oh no. Is it private by default, or is it? No, okay, it's just protect. Alright, alright. My bad, sorry. I was thinking of the wrong thing. So anyway, effect value is right here. And we need, this is the only thing we really need to set for the piece of experience, right? We need to determine how much this is worth. This is just experience consumable. This could be experience consumable 1. We'll make it worth 10 points. Alright? That's all that matters. And what I will do is I will also make another child class. And I will call this health consumable. Alright? And the health consumable can heal. We do have hearts. So, you know, a health consumable maybe heals 1 heart. It can be a float, doesn't really matter. Make sure we change the type to consumable health. Item can be worth 1, it doesn't matter. I'll say health consumable. Yeah, you call this health potion, whatever. And let's say just 1 again. No need to complicate our lives. I'm just adding extra things in so that we can use them. I can change the mesh if we want. It's not really important, but you're not going to be really seeing it on there. We haven't done anything with pictures or anything. But it's just good to know that these are separate. Okay. So there, we have our consumables. We actually already have our armor. So at this point, we can start doing the logic for what happens when we use our item. So let's take a step back. Let's go to our inventory item widget. Now, when we were to press the button, this use item event function gets called. But we haven't done anything here. So we need to do a few things. We need to, first of all, determine the item that we are... We can either construct an object, fill out the data, and do it from there, or we can excuse me, or we can pass along the data through the widget. Health consumable may heal 1 heart. Yeah, it'll always be worth 1 though. Like if you're saying, you know, if you're at full, you can still heal for 1 and then just not let them go above 4. If it's greater than that, then you can heal for more. Plenty of ways to do it, but the use item, right, it's going to be generic. So let's determine how we want to tackle this. This is basically the last part until we're done with our inventory system for now, because this will make it work for any item as long as the item has the data that it needs to be able to perform the action. Right now we have every item has everything it needs in our inventory, but we have no way of performing these actions. So one thing we could do is construct an object that has similar fields, pass along data when we acquire the item, whether we buy it or pick it up off the ground. And then when we use the item, we access that UObject specifically, and we use the data. Now that's a good fix, but we haven't done anything with UObjects yet. We were kind of shying away from it, which, you know, again, it's not really the best practice, but you do want to work the project based on how much you're going to have. You know, you'll spend a lot more time working on things on your project if, like, say I'm working on a 2D game, okay? And the graphics are very minimal, the gameplay and the logic is very minimal. But then maybe I don't need to, like, do this complex algorithm that it's going to eat up all my CPU just to make it look like that much nicer. You know what I mean? In this case, it's like, yes, there's a little bit more memory, but we're not going to have so much so that's going to matter, because these ones that are getting spawned are getting deleted right after anyway. In fact, they're not even going to get spawned, the consumables. They're going to be spawned in the world. We're going to press use item. It's going to steal the data and instantly delete them. So that's why I'm making such a big deal out of this. Is I want it to be known that I'm not like just saying, oh, let's just not do the U object. It just, there's times when I don't feel it's necessary to go the extra lengths for what we're doing. Okay, so one good way of doing it is we could have the class type, and we could check the class type and then call a function based off the value. Now the only problem with that is if you want to be able to change the value of the specific item. So this is called experience consumable. So yes, right now the effect value is 10. It gives us 10 experience. I still think it should be integers. 1 heart healing, 10 XP gain, 30% damage boost. Yeah, I mean, you do integers, it's not a big deal, because if you have a ratio, say you want to do like 55.5%, well, you can't do that with an integer. So it's just like a float is the same size as an integer. So quite literally, you're getting more effect out of it for doing pretty much less work. I mean, there are differences between them, like they can hold less standard values because of the fact that they don't use decimals. But I think if the option's there, take it. You know, you might as well be open to using a float as opposed to just using an integer. If you know for a fact you're never going to use it, then yeah, just use integers. If you never need that decimal point, then yeah, just use integers. There's no point to use it then otherwise. But I'm not set in stone on that. Just in case you want to do like 35.5%. And it's not something I'll ever do in the template, but just we have to think about people watching this, right? Because people do watch it after the live stream. So people watching this, in terms of the tutorial, they may want to use a float value. Okay, so anyway, this experience consumable is a generic name that I made. But you could change the value on it. You won't have to make another class. You could just say, oh, this is experience consumable 1, small, 10 experience. You could also have experience consumable, same class, but make it a bigger one and give you 100 experience. Well, if we do that, if we change it like that, then what I'm going to show you is not going to work for that. Okay? Because we can just use the class type and grab the class defaults from it. But it won't work if you are going to change it and it's not going to be on the actor. If you're going to do that, you're going to have to use the reference. Alright? But since I'm not going to do that, and I have an actor for all of my classes, then I can do it this way. So this event use item, which it's in my my logic here. We can actually add an input parameter. Would it be an input? Well, we could do output. We could do it either. We would need to pass it along somehow. So we'll do an input. And I forget exactly how this is done, so give me 1 second. There's a way you can use a class path. Maybe we actually can't do it in the interface. I might have to set it up separately. There is a way you can do a class path, though. Let me see if I can do it in the blueprint. 1 second. Let's get rid of that. Oh, you can't do it in functions. You can actually do it in any of these. You can't just pass the class, you'd have to pass the object. Okay, so we might have to go with passing the object anyway. I was going to try and just pass the class type, because that is something you can do. But with the way we're handling it, I don't think you can pass just a class type through a function. I think you have to pass in a reference. There is the soft... Let me look one more time, hold on. What was this? This was the soft class path. Oh, soft other. But this isn't the class type. Like, I can't assign the class type. Usually you can assign, like, generic class type and then, you know, what version of that. But we're not going to have that luxury here. And that's okay. That just means we'll have to separate this a bit. So what we're going to do instead is just pass the data along here, and then we will have to figure it out from there. So event use item here is we're going to have to use the enum to determine what object is going to have it called. And I'm trying to think. Actually, if I give the interface to it, I don't think we need to pass it the class. But we would have to know the enum so that we use the right class, the right actor when doing the logic. But I think I could call it and it would work. Let me try that, because if that works, then that's basically what I was trying to achieve, but it's just in a different method. So, for example, in base, well, not just base consumable, though. We technically want it for base inventory item. But I think if you add it to the parent class, it actually does not... No, it would have to go to the interface of the child, right? It's been a while since I've done it. Let's try it. Regardless, on the base inventory item, we are going to want another interface. We're going to want our inventory interface. I had extra events in there. I just removed them. That way it did not conflict with the interface, since we're doing it this way now. And now I think I can actually just do this here. We'll see. I think I can do it right here. If this works, then we're golden. We're basically done. So I need to get an item, get an inventory item. Okay, did not print anything. Right? Yeah, I'm trying to bait. Like use item. Hold on. That's what it is. I knew I was missing something. Hold on. There is a way to do this. I know there is a way to do this. I'm just trying to think of how. I forget exactly. Wait, that's the same one we're using. Call function. The interface is the same here. Interface call. Oh no, this is calling it on the interface. Hold on. Sorry, I did not see the subtle difference there. Because I was going to say, if you can't do it if you're not calling it on an item. Okay, so we are going to need the item reference, which is fine. We can do that without the class type. We can do it with the object reference. I'm just trying to see. I know there's a way to do this. I wish I could remember. Because there's a way you can call it. It'll basically ping all of them, and then you can divert it. You can say, no, I don't want to do that one. I'm trying to think. What the heck was it? There's a way to do it. My brain could make those connections. We could be good here. We have event use item here. This is the interface call. I mean, this should work flat out if I... Like, if I just call it from here. When we begin overlap, it should work. Oh, duh. Sorry. Use item. Yeah, see here. Oh, can you not do it from a widget, maybe? I might have to route it to an object first. So I could route it to the base object first. That might be what it is. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna try this just to make sure this works how I think it works, even though it's being done in the other function. And then if it is, we'll send it to the base class and we'll divert it in there. Okay. The heck is that? The bronze key door is giving me an issue. Okay. Anyway. Alright. So we just can't do it from the widget. I was like, I know there's a way to do this. Okay. So, what we need to do is we need to put this, like, this, the event use item, in the base inventory item. Oh, this is, this is base inventory item. Okay. And we're gonna need to be able to call it on here. So the only thing is, if I go to my widget, I might need an object reference now because I don't think I can call this anymore. I wish I could just call it from the widget. That'd be so convenient. But I can't. I can only do an interface call or a function call. Can I pass in a different target though? Because it is yellow on the function as well. This calls it on here. That calls it on there. I mean, it's fine, for real. We can do it. I'm kind of stuck on that. Like, I want to do it this way if possible. Let me see. Use item. What's up, Amamundi? You see you're enjoying yourself? Did you find a breakthrough, or is that like a going mad? Like you found something not good that upsets you? Dang it. I wish I could remember, guys. I'm sorry. There is a way to do this without doing the whole object reference, and I'm trying to get that. But I'm trying to remember how the heck to actually do that. Is it just because it's a widget though? Dang it. Okay. I'm gonna do this as a test, and if this works, then we're just gonna have to roll with it. Not this. We're not gonna spawn an actor here. Don't worry. But I need to see if this does. If I can do what I think I can. Hold on. I need the function. No, sorry. I need the interface call. Wait, this is both inventory interface. Hold on. Use item. Can I do this on it? Can I? No, this is inventory item widget. But can I call use item on it? Oh, hold on. I will need the Oh yeah, inventory interface. Yeah, I do that because we have a naming convention at work where we're supposed to like type the name of the blueprint it is. It is kind of funny though. It happens with well actually U objects, so it'll have like object at the end of it. So I'll type in like you know, like, well, I can't give a specific name, but I'll type in like actor. I'll type in like object name object, and it'll be like object. It's a little ugly. Hold on. I'll try this one last thing, then we'll do it another way. We'll do it the way we can do it, but I'm hoping I can figure this out. So if we spawn, what type is this? It's a base inventory item. Can I call it from here? Can I call use item? Okay, I can actually. So if I had the item reference, I'd call it from here, which I know doesn't really help us because I still would need to pass the reference then, but I could call it. There used to be a class, not class. We do base inventory item class reference like this. You actually do a class reference instead of an object reference, and then we could spawn this and do it. In fact, maybe we do it from here. That's not. I can't remember for the life of me. It's fine. What we can do is this. And basically, each item would just have the reference to the class as opposed to the actual object. But dang it, that frustrates me. There's another way to do that. Oh well. Yeah. It doesn't matter where we spawn it. We're gonna spawn it and delete it, like, literally within less than a second. But we're gonna spawn this here, and we're gonna take the default values of this. Since we haven't updated data tables, remember, we just have our actors. We're pretty lame right now. We just have the actors with the default value. We're not fancy enough to have a data table that have the values like we did with our moves. So, instead, we can do... yeah, we want to call on the base inventory item. So this is a class reference. And we can use this here and set the child reference as well, is what I'm getting at. We could set the child here, and we could access that if we wanted. Like, we have experience consumable, health consumable. Technically, the, oh, the armors are actually something else, aren't they? So I would have to go to actually base pickup if they are separate. Let's see if they are separate. Base pickup. Base pickup BP? It's fine. I know. I'm well aware. I'm just checking something. Oh, I never. Hold on. Relax yourself. Yeah, I know. Hold on. I just want to see this. What the heck did I call it? What the heck did I call it? Hold on. Give me 1 second. I thought I would put in objects. No, I was gonna say there's no way I put in weapons. Oh no, I just put on a slot. We don't. Duh. Hold on. Sorry. I don't actually have a class for it. It's separate. It was just a regular inventory item. All right, my mistake. Ignore that part of it. All right. So anyway, now that that's done, what we're gonna do is go into base. Oops. Base inventory item again. Yes, we're going to use this type. All right, sorry guys, sorry. So, yes, we have the class reference here. We're going to spawn actor from class. And the reason this is useful is we can set the child class on here without having an object reference. Again, what a U object would be good for, but since we're not using them in this case, really this is the best way I can think of. But here we go. We're going to make this transform, and we can call this function. Now, this should work, like we can test it. By default, if we don't give it anything, it will be none. So we are gonna have to set it to that. But there you go. See, it's printing. So at that point, you can see all we have to do now is set the class type for the individual object. So keep this class reference, and then when we set the text, we'll set the reference, and then we'll go to that class type. It could be better. It could be better. I just wish I could figure that one thing out. If I could figure that out, I would be happy with it, but it's okay. I mean, really, it's not the end of the world, especially since this is like just the introductory, here, do this. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just hard on it because I like to try and make everything as nice as I can for you guys. So it's fine. We're going to use this for now. We're going to call use item, and then we'll instantly destroy it after, to be honest. But we're going to wait until the item has been used, and we can get a callback, or we can just do it at the end of the the logic itself in here. So either way. But the important part is now we have this essentially finished. All we have to do is override this for each class and pass along the correct class, and then we have the logic that we want. So the base inventory item actually doesn't have to do anything at all. There's really no reason for it to. This is just kind of a parent class, right? And same with the consumable, it's just the parent class. We only have inventory because I'm going to do the armor off of it, but we did the armor as just attach points as opposed to an actual actor, which is fine, but I realized I can't pick it up, so I won't be able to use that. So, you know, that's a little silly of me to do that, but that's fine. All we need to do is basically put this in. We could either put it in the consumable with the type, or we could just check the type and call it in the individual class. Thank you for the subscription, Marcel. I appreciate that. They said, it's possible to disable piercing for mace-related weapons. Oh! Is it possible to... Oh, is it possible to hide it for your variables? Because I remember you sent me that. Yeah. So you can actually you can have different class types, okay? So right now you have them all under weapon. You do have a mace class that's a child, so you have the piercing. But what you'll want to do is make it to where either you can just flat out not use those variables if you want. It doesn't really hurt anything. If it's bothering you just because it's there and you don't want it to be there, then you can actually just not have the variables in that class. Make different child classes, because you have your base weapon and you have your piercing because you have your melee weapons. Switch it up for like piercing weapons and blunt weapons, and you could do that, and then you wouldn't even have to worry about ignoring it. You can just not have those variables there. But good question. Thank you. Alright, okay. So, yeah, and the health consumable. So all of these, you can see that they have inherited interfaces. So I don't need to actually add them again to implement them. I don't believe. It has been a long time since I've used them, but the thought would be, as with a code class, when you inherit one, you can just use it, and yeah, we can. So we have it here, and we could print this, and I can show you it working one more time, and then I'm going to go through, do it for the consumable, the health, and we can set up the armor if we want. And then I'll show you at the end what the result is, and how we can actually set the class type. We can do it off that enum. So the... What am I trying to do? I need to change the class type arbitrarily right now to make this work. I think this is health consumable. Yep. And this should work. I think I changed everything I needed to. Go over here. And we do this. And we do... What is it? This button. And we do hello. Right there. So there you go. And you can see we can actually change it based on the class now. The actual class type as opposed to the object reference. So let's finish this up. So let's put this back to base inventory item. I mean, you could have it none by default, but since we know it's going to be a base inventory item, I think it's fine to leave it. Worst case scenario, you don't get a child class and it just doesn't do anything anyway since we didn't fill out that class. Better than none, because if you do none, I think it might actually cause an error. I don't know. I've never tried to spawn actor from class and have the class as none. Usually I would do an is valid check if I wasn't sure and if I was going to set it to none. So I'm not too sure what would happen, but it's probably not something that we want to do. Now we have this set item button text here. We could set item button class reference as well. The only problem with that is, I'll show you. There's no problem with it, but it just means something we have to set up here. So let me get rid of some of these things. There's too many things going on here. There we go. We can actually get rid of the base inventory item too. Go into... Sorry guys, my brain is a little fried, so it's not an excuse, but I'm just trying to explain why I'm so slow. Okay, we go into our inventory widget, and this is where we were calling this. Now this is actually fine. We do have the inventory item, so we could actually get the class. Like, you can quite literally drag off of this and get class. So there's no problem But we do have to do this, and we will have to add to it, all right? So let's go ahead and make our function. In the widget, we'll make a new function. I'm gonna call set item button class. And again, we're gonna make this a base inventory. We're only gonna do this with base inventory items, and we're gonna make it a class reference. We're gonna say class, and we're gonna set the class reference to this class. Pretty simple. Now, the only problem with this is if you use it and you don't have the class as a child, then it won't be able to find the use item. It wouldn't crash because it actually won't let you set the reference to it. It would be none. Well, like we said, I'm not sure about none. But we know we're only going to do base inventory items, so it's not really an issue. Just if you're getting an issue with that, if you are having trouble with it, then make sure that you are using a class type that is either a child of that or is that actual class. Otherwise, you will run into trouble. Alright, and then now we have our get class here. We can still do the name first if we want. That doesn't really matter. Just going to bring this over here. We're going to call base pickup class reference not compatible. Okay. Because inventory items is base pickup. And what we'll have to do, no, what we'll do is this. Oh, hold on, let me undo that. Because we could change it, but then we would have to change where the interface is going. What we could do instead is this. I think we can do it this way. And then get class of this. I think this will show you the class that you want it to. Remember, this is only, I mean, I could just change this. If not, we're just going to change inventory items. Because quite frankly, I don't care at that point. We'll just make inventory items, you know, only the inventory from the blueprint. But I'd really rather not. Because it's just extra steps I feel like we shouldn't have to go through. Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, I mean, it just doesn't make sense for me to, like, include the blueprint class and then change that variable from code. We'll just do a cast. Like, I just want to make sure it would work. A lot of this is stuff that I had not touched in Unreal. The last time I did this was in my Bad Manners Unity project, which it's actually a lot more convenient in Unity now thinking about it, but it's okay. Here we go. So if this works, and this should always succeed because these are the only ones that will be in this list at this point. I'm going to get the class. We're going to add it as regular. We're going to set the class. The class reference will be set. And then we will spawn the correct actor and use the correct item. So, yeah, I think this will be golden. I'm going to do 2 print strings, and then if these print strings work, then we will actually add the health and add the experience. And then we can go fix our bug from earlier. Use that. Alright. So we have to, the only problem is that gets set based off the class that goes into our inventory. So we need to actually be able to add these things to our inventory now. I'm trying to see, do we only ever use this in... We do, dang it. Interesting. Well, it didn't like that, and it crashed, but... Alright, we're good. I just have to actually I just have to add it. We might add it arbitrarily since we only have 17 minutes, but... You know, I like to talk a lot. What can I say? Okay. And, of course, it takes everything with it. But, really, I don't need all that stuff open right now. I just need my inventory item widget would be good. And I need to add it somewhere. We can add it on the character for now. Just flat out when they spawn. Literally does not matter. As use shop. This is begin play. We'll just flat out do it right here. Alrighty. We're just gonna spawn a health consumable. We can just spawn it on the player. Again, this is all literally just to prove a point, just to show it working for the future episodes. This is not, you know, we're not gonna actually spawn this here. We're gonna put it into the scene, be able to pick it up, and then use it. The only part we're missing is the picking up part. I haven't actually attached a proper mesh to it, and thus, you know, we're gonna have 1,000 triangles. So, well, you know what? We could just bring it in. We could just bring it in. I guess it won't really hurt anything, because we do have the tooltip, or not the tooltip, but the HUD element. So let's go. Let's try it. I mean, here, health consumable. Should be good. Everything at, Good enough. Health consumable. There you go. Health. So see, we have our health consumable. And if I put, like, say we put the experience consumable out here. Yeah, I think it's there, but just to be safe, 1,200. This is the experience consumable. Okay? So if I pick this up, experience. Pick this up, health. There you go. It's that easy. At that point, now we know that the right class is getting called when we have the right item, because our class reference is correct. So all we have to do now is define the logic that we want. And this will have to be done for each actor, because it's different for each actor. So for example, the health consumable, instead of printing, we can... You could pass the character if you wanted, but what we're going to do for now is fine. My bad. Alright. Do I have like a... Do I have a way to gain back hearts? Maybe not. I mean, we could just take damage with -1. If we really felt the need to do that. That is just... You could also just do this. Could be a full heal for now, since we don't have a healing function. Yeah. So here, let's take damage. Kill this guy. add it to our inventory, use it. Oh, it might not update the HUD, so let me do this. Let me do... So this is actually going to be an anti-health potion, just for the record. But you can see it has me take damage. So there you go. So now items are working. That was entirely my fault. I didn't realize we did not have a heal function. So my apologies there. A little poor planning on my part. But like I said, I wing this series because we gotta have fun with it. You guys gotta see where my strengths and weaknesses are, and when I learn and when I make mistakes, because everyone does. I'm not gonna try and pretend I don't. So that's why I encourage, you know, just doing it live, right? But anyway, so we would have a heal function here, obviously. For right now, I'm gonna try this just because I'm a madman, and I've not looked at my take damage function a bit. But I almost wonder if this will update the HUD, because it updates the HUD when we take damage, but I don't know if it'll ever add it back, is the problem. I mean, it's not taking one away. Let me take damage real quick. Yeah, it is working. Alright, you ready? Boom. Well, I do have the extra health, but it doesn't update the HUD. Okay, well, either way, I mean, we're getting a little hacky there at the end. Thank you, Marcel. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Oh, it's not showing up on here for some reason. Well. Okay, so at this point, we're pretty much good. I want to add the same to the experience consumable. So really what we should just do is actually just destroy this actor once we've done it. So we would heal, and then we would destroy actor. You can also, like I said, do a callback, and once this is done, destroy the actor. It doesn't really matter. And then for this one, we can actually just do the same thing. And this one we should be able to see, because this one will update as a progress bar as opposed to individual images and having to notify the HUD to update. So we can say gain experience. And it does have a value, remember? That's why we did effect value. We do this. And we do this. Actually, yeah, let's just push this all away. There we go. Perfect. And then at this point, we should actually be able to see that one. So let's do it. Oh, I need to destroy the actor. Alright, so if we go get our experience, level up, and boom, there we go. So we actually used our experience consumable, and we can keep leveling up. I mean, we never actually, we did destroy the actor that spawned, but we never actually, you know, removed the item from our inventory, so. We may have another episode on inventory, just to clean up some of the things, we should remove them when we're done using them, and I actually want to make the armor part of it. I didn't realize that it wasn't one of the items we had tagged to go into the inventory. So that part's on me, and I do apologize. But I think we'll do another split session, because I actually really like that. So basically the first, hour will probably be us doing the inventory. We can knock out the tag in, tag out thing pretty quickly, actually. So if you want me to do that, I'm 100% down. I think that sounds like a ton of fun. We cover both of those in the next episode. I'm trying to think, was there anything else? I think that's pretty much it. I mean, that really is it. We can use any item now. As long as it has this interface,
And we can always change the parent class if we had to. So it's not the end of the world. But even without it, you saw we could do a cast and use this. So anything that's a base pickup now can have this functionality. We can literally apply the functionality when we use that item. The functionality will be in the item, and we just call the function when we click on the button. Okay? So, yeah, that's pretty much how you can do a pretty nice inventory system. I'm still a little disappointed. I couldn't figure out exactly what I wanted to figure out. But the system itself that's in place is pretty good. It's definitely usable. It's definitely good on performance. It's just not exactly. It's a little bit more effort on our side than I wanted. There is a neater way to do it, but it's okay. Everglade says, sounds good. So, cool. Let's see if we can fix this shop bug real quick. Is it still a bug, though, or is it only if we... It's only when we walk into them, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is. So we disabled the input for them is what happened. Alright, we can probably fix that right now. Objects. Let's see what the base shop VP is doing. I can't exactly remember. It has been a while. I can't remember why we can't enter the shop. Weird. So the shop logic is just when we interact, right? I'm pretty sure. Oh, else if. So if we had overlapped item and overlapped item never got reset, did it? I bet you it did not. It didn't. Let me do that. Let me do that. We'll fix this up right here, and that bug will be gone and we'll be fully good. So when we did remove the pop-up on end overlap, but we need to reset overlapped item back to nothing, literally nothing. And same with the shop. When we leave the shop, we want to reset it too. Not just when we leave the item. So now, I think this should work. We can go over this. There we go. And the other way around would be when you interact with the shop, actually, it would work the other way around because it was an if-else statement. So, like, we could interact, we could exit, and then we could probably interact again. No, we actually couldn't. Oh, because it's not. Alright, so all we have to do here is then in the shop, when we leave, do the same thing. There you go. And now look, that bug from the beginning is fixed as well. I'll test it to make sure, but I'm pretty sure that should do it. So we can interact with that first and say, oh, we can still go into the shop. And then I can interact with this, and then I should be able to open up my inventory. And there it is. Boop. And just to be extra sure, I should be able to go and use my items. So there we go. So I think that's pretty much it for today, guys. I mean, we fixed the bug in the beginning, which my apologies for. I really did just miss that. And we went ahead and we made the inventory completely usable. There's literally nothing you can't do with it in terms of like using a consumable. We do have the equip logic, we just don't have the armor as an item to equip it. So we have to make a base inventory item class. We need to make it the armor. And we need to equip it in there instead of the construction script on click. But, I mean, literally we could do that in a few minutes. Can you do exact the same? What exactly do you mean? What? Can you do exactly the same? I think are you talking about, can we do it the same with each of the items, like with the armor?
Hey, what's up, Emerald? Nice to see you. If you talk about the armor, yes, you're absolutely correct. That's basically what we'll do. And in fact, I really will knock it out next episode. It was my fault. I didn't realize we didn't create a blueprint for it, but it really shouldn't take us more than 15 minutes. Literally, like, I can cover it in a minute without actually making it because of how long that would take. But we'll make an armor, a base armor class. We'll tag the one as helmet. We'll tag the other as chest plate. Which we already do have that, actually. We have the different armor types. I don't think we have them tagged anywhere, but we do have it set up to where we know that there's different slots on the skeleton. And then on our character, in the construction script, I was attaching to component. We can actually attach to component when we click on the button, as opposed to in the construction script. And then we can equip it, and if it's already attached, when we press it, we can unequip it. And there you go. That's how we can do armor. I will show it, though. I don't want to, I'm not trying to, like, get out of it. Oh, we ran out of time. No, I will show it. I said I would. It's time. It's going to be time to wrap up the stream. The breastplate. Yeah, I mean, you can call it that. It is called that. It's either the chest plate, the breastplate, the chest piece. Well, probably not the chest piece. Well, maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, definitely same thing. Hey, what's up? They say, hey, how are you? I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Unfortunately, we're actually just about to end the stream. I apologize for that. But it is really, really nice to have you here. Thank you. Good name, by the way. Like, on a legitimate note. Good name. I like that. Yeah, I think that's... sorry, I don't mean to cut it short when you just got here, but I think that's pretty much it. We do have the... I'll show you what we did if you're interested. We now have it to where we can go over and pick up consumables, and technically we can buy them from the shop. That actually does work, but I didn't put any of the consumables as the item in the shop. I just put random miscellaneous inventory items. And then I can pick these up, I can open my inventory, and I can use them. Now the health consumable, I can't have more than 3 hearts, and it doesn't update the HUD. But I can show you the experience consumable, because I do have experience. So, usually you would remove it after you use it, but you can see that we can use it, and it works. So we can actually use our consumables. And it's done using the interface, so you can actually use it for any object that you want that's a child of base inventory item. So, yeah. We're doing pretty well. We got a crazy little, we got a lot of stuff going on because we just added a bunch of features, but I think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Try to catch the next one. Yeah, we do it every Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, if you're interested, this one, of course, it will stay uploaded on YouTube, so you can watch it if you're interested. That goes for everybody. But, thank you guys for being here. Anima Mundi, thank you for the help with the naming conventions. That is very, very useful. You see that I struggle with it a lot. Everglades, thank you for the excellent armor and for being here. Emerald, Jock, see. Marcel, Sircan, Snatchin, Scar, and I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name. I don't want to pronounce it because I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to butcher it. But YEXIUPH. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I'm really glad. I really appreciate you coming by, and thank you for everything, for hanging out and following. Yeah, Everglades. I'll do the armor really, really quick next episode. It should be seriously 15 minutes, probably less, unless I'm talking a lot, which I do. And then we will cover tag in, tag out, and I'll try and make it as nice as possible. I will plan that one a little bit better because we will have to use that in the fighting game. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, my friends.